It's Halloween time. Ooh. It's that time of year again. Spooky season. Ooh. This month, we're going to look at the scary side of gaming, and for this video, rather than looking at something that would scare us, we're looking at something that scares developers. Bad sales. I love using this button. We've all come across bad games. In some cases, these games are so bad that they're actually pretty good. For instance, by every metric, Octodad wouldn't be considered a good game. The graphics are okay, the story is strange, and the controls are nearly impossible. But there's also a good design to Octodad, and it brings lots of laughs for people. And for others, unfiltered rage.
Ah! Did I want to go over there? Did I want to go over there? How about no?
No, instead, we're looking at the games that are so bad that they're just bad. Now, if you saw last week's video, you'll remember that we looked at some of the best games of all time. What made them all so popular was either that they were able to present something new, or that they were all understood by anyone playing. So following that, I wanted to see what makes the worst games terrible. To do this, I'll be looking at the scores on Metacritic. Now, I should mention, a game reviewer's scores should always be taken with a grain of salt. I'm sure we all remember the Cuphead situation with them trying to make that one jump at the beginning of the game. Come on, it's not even that hard! In most cases, it's important to remember that your opinion of a game is what matters. The scores of a game won't always reflect your own enjoyment of a game, so don't let a bad score lead you to not trying it. Now that that's out of the way, let's look at these games. They can't all be that bad. Right away, I'm sure you can think about the types of games that are on this list. Party games are well known to be a hit or miss. Other than Mario Party, the only other game I can think of that almost did party games right was Carnival Games. It still had clunky controls and the game has definitely aged, but it's still a fun time with friends. Game Party Champions tries to have fun minigames, but they all just fall flat. At the end of the day, this is a minigame collection. You've got air hockey, like we saw, football, and my absolute favorite, hoop shoot.
3 hoops, 1 ball. Not exactly regulation, but you get the idea. Aim at those targets, careful, they move, and make a nice, smooth throwing motion. Go for 3!
I remember trying this out, and this game does not control well. When you play hoop shoot, there's just no control of your throws. But worse than that just has to be the way that it looks. And don't get me wrong, the environments itself, they aren't too bad. The arcade looks like an arcade, the garage looks like a garage. But the people.
No need to be so confident and bold. Okay, I think we're ready for the arcade now.
Fighter Within. For friends who fight.
On the surface, Fighter Within is a fighting game. Honestly, it had a really good premise. Rather than just using a controller and remembering certain moves, this game uses the Xbox Kinect to allow the player to actually fight. When the player swings, the character also swings. There was just one itty-bitty tiny problem. The Kinect wasn't good. The Kinect was known back then and today as a camera that just didn't work for the Xbox. None of the games really worked with it, and this game is no different. This is why I think the game had potential. It had a great concept of being able to play a fighting game by actually swinging, but it just didn't work. My favorite thing about this game, though, is the review by Digital Fix. Fighter Within on the Xbox 360 would be a disaster reduced to a footnote, ignored and left to wither. As a launch title for the new generation, it's worse. A parasite feeding off the goodwill and desperation of early adopters. I don't know, I'm sure it's not fun to play, it sure doesn't look it, but compared to the other games, this is just the top. If anything, we should be thanking Fighter Within. It gave us all a reason to kill the Kinect.
Those who know my name whisper it in fear. Most people I meet, I only meet once. I am Drake, the assassin. To me, life is all about death.
Oh, you've gotta be kidding me. So Drake of the 99 Dragons is the perfect example of a bad game. What's really strange about it though is that it has the same look to many of the early 2000s licensed video games of the time. This came out in 2003, the same year that the Fairly Odd Parents Breaking the Rules did. The only difference is that while this game was made by people who love the show, this game was made to grab a quick buck and potentially make this into a franchise with a show and everything. Needless to say, that didn't happen. Just from looking at this gameplay, I'm sure you can tell why it didn't do well, but many of the things holding this game back were the bad controls, bad camera, and overall just bad voice acting.
Hang Undertakers are moving the body of the Master from the 99 Dragons penthouse. You must protect the clan from dishonor beyond death.
Drake, you must stop them before they leave for the morgue.
There's no time to create a new avatar. We will have to reinstall you in your old body on site.
With this game, I think if the developers took a bit more time with it, it could have been great. Some of the moves you do these little Batman style effects, it has a unique art style, and there's also this slowdown mechanic. If more time was taken, I'm sure this game could have been great, but instead it's on this list. It just gets worse, everybody. During the Wii era, there were some fantastic games released, some that still hold up today. But there were also terrible games available, like Spogs. There's nothing really different about this game from other driving games, other than instead of driving a car, you drive a tire. Overall, this game is just a mess from start to finish. It's essentially a sad Mario Kart clone. There's upgrades, you can customize your tire, and you race against other people. For some reason, you only have to do 2 laps instead of the normal 3, but I think everyone who bought this game was okay with that. What's really strange about this game, though, is that while you drive, there's no music. Mario Kart and all of its ripoffs have at least something in the background. In this case, nothing. Just the sound of an engine coming from a tire. I will say though, Spogs is a fun name. Apparently it stands for Sports Player Object Gyro. But to me it just sounds like a weird nickname for a frog. Speaking of bad games with fun names, Vroom in the Night Sky is the lowest rated Nintendo Switch game currently, but oh, it is so worth a purchase. Alright, so the gameplay is bad. You play as this witch who, while she has a broom, she chooses not to ride it. Instead, she flies on a motorcycle. Okay, so the game is still bad. The controls stink, the music is okay, and the scores make absolutely no sense. But the dialogue! The dialogue is where this game shines. The entire game is written this way. What makes it better is that you have conversations as you play. I'll never lose! What are you saying? Who made a magical bike? You are a wimp. What's going on? There are so many good lines in this game, and as an English major, this is both hilarious to me and painful. But it's more funny. Maybe watch a YouTube video on the game, but I wouldn't waste your money on this. So we've come to that part of the video again. We've seen some pretty bad games so far. Many of them were trying a bit too hard, others just didn't know what to do with itself. But what about the worst of the worst games? What are they like?
Tons to do for the all-new Wii U! It's Family Party, 30 great games obstacle arcade. Loaded with over 30 awesome mini-games for the all-new Wii U!
Yep, it's another minigame collection, but this was one that I actually remember playing. I remember it not being that bad. If anything, the games were fun, the music was enjoyable, and it was just fun playing with my friends. Yeah, it's not any of that past me. I don't know why I thought this. This game controls terribly, the music is just noise, and it just looks awful. For context, here's a game that was released in 2012 as well, the same year that this game came out. Why did they make it look like this? What's great too is that it looks like just about everyone can agree on this. It's won the award for Worst Wii U Game in 2013, and just the worst game of 2013 in general. Sadly, this is another game that I at least think had the potential to be good. Minigame collections and party games were already on the rise during this time, so they just had to make one themselves. But hey, on the bright side, BioGamer Girl magazine has your back. They gave this game a 5 out of 10.
Awesome play!
I mean, I wouldn't, but good for them. And at the bottom of the list, we have Big Rigs Over-the-Road Racing, and wow. The trailer alone shows that this is a bad game, but I mean, come on, why was this even approved to ship? The trailer shows a truck just driving through a bridge and several buildings like that's supposed to happen. GameSpot reviewed this game in the most precise way. Please do not play this game. This game is bad, there's no avoiding that. But what annoys me is that I don't know if the game was intentionally made this way or not. We've already seen you can just drive through anything, and the trailer shows this game to be more of a joke than anything, but it's also a game that was sold intentionally in stores. Actually, scratch that, it was only sold in Walmart. I am not making that up. So a few things that stand out with this game are that you can pick from 5 different routes to drive in. Except for the 4th one, that one just crashes the game. You drive through these paths and have to reach certain checkpoints on a baseline level. Not too complicated of a game. Now, this would be more intense if there was a time limit, or if the other truck even moved. Now, one of the best features of this game, though, which the trailer did show for a majority of it, is that when you reverse, you pick up speed, and it doesn't slow down. Once you let go of the reverse button too, your truck just stops. And once you finally cross the track, you receive your prize. This game may stink. It looks bad and controls even worse. But it's always important to remember that no matter what happens in your life, you pick yourself up, brush yourself off, and remember that you're winner. So what makes all of these games terrible? Strangely enough, I have to say it's not the graphics. Many of these games look terrible, don't get me wrong, but others had a unique style about them. A lot of them also had really bad controls, but there are good games out there that also have bad controls or a bad camera. Look, I'm sorry Epic Mickey fans, but even though it's a good game, we can all admit to the camera being terrible. What makes these games so bad is that they weren't thinking with the players in mind. Rather than thinking of what the player would like or just making a fun game, these games were trying to become the next big thing or trying to make a quick buck. I'm certain that if more time was put into making these games, at least one of them would be a major franchise at this point. Though most of them are on this list, they do give us the chance to see that even if we think we're playing a bad game, things could be a lot worse. Anyway guys, thank you for watching this video, you're a winner, and remember to chase the chaos.